In this video, we're gonna rank every single Kingdom Rush Frontiers hero from weakest to strongest. So what do we do till the end, and let's get into it. At the bottom place we have Cronan, and in Kingdom Rush Frontiers I believe there are many heroes. If used well, they can be a lot different than this actual tier list I have created, and Cronan is one of those exceptions. If you can use Cronan very well, he is a great staller, and he can stall like 4 enemies at the same time, and that makes him really strong in some situations. Not too strong, he can be somewhere up in C tier in my personal opinion, if you can use well, and there are very few exceptional players who can actually do it, and it requires very high skill with micro. I think I can do it well. Although, that's the only reason I'm keeping Cronan on bottom of this list. If you can use him well enough, he can be a little bit high enough. But still, he isn't the best hero in the game. Over here, we have Mirage coming up at second last number. The Mirage is just over here just because of her insta-kill ability and few high damaging abilities. Those are the only reasons I personally believe she deserves to be. Everything about her else than that is just weak, if that's the right word. So that's the only reason, nothing against her. Let's go to the next one. Nivus being the third worst hero in the entire game. Now let's be honest, Nivus is really great when it comes to microing, but even when you micro, he takes a little bit time in just teleporting and getting his full form. And Nivus has insta-kill ability, which is actually good, not bad, but Nivus is like a character which I personally believe is good in early game, and just after the first area he just falls off in the tier list real bad. That's my personal opinion, but yeah, that's what I personally think about Nivus. He trained Wesnan and he did a great job as an actual lore character, I guess, but in this tier list, no. Kutsao being the fourth worst character in the game. I'm really sad to put this, but yes, he is kind of bad. I mean, his abilities are pretty cool, the character overall is pretty cool, but when it comes to performance, he lacks the ability to kill an enemy too fast. He can't stall enemies technically, he can stun them for a few seconds. His dragon style is the only good ability I would consider he has, and there are other abilities, but though that's the most damage dealing one too. So personally, I think he lacked a lot of things. Although if Ironhide gave him a little buff when Kingdom Rush Frontier was still getting updates, maybe he could have been really strong, but for now he's nowhere near strong. Karkinos being the bottom 5th hero, let's consider. I mean, pretty cool hero to be honest. He can travel in water, he can be really much microed around the map, pretty cool here and there, but worst part about him is that he does not deal any good amount of damage which can kill an enemy. If I have to say this and put this in right words, he can tank very well. That's the only good part about him. So in terms of tankiness, in this entire game, I think Karkinos is the worst tank who deals least amount of damage while tanking. He can be a great tank in my personal opinion, but when it comes to stalling enemies, all of those things, Karkinos isn't the best to do that things. But yeah, Karkinos is a good tank, that's all I can say about him. Dierdre coming up in the list at this rank, I would consider she is one of my personal favorite heroes, and I would guess that the best part about her is her teleport animations. I would consider, just look at that angelic, heroic, holy teleportation ability. But getting to the point, she is more of an support side. If you could put Dierdre in any other game than Kingdom Rush Frontiers, she would be performing well enough in my personal opinion, but she is pretty good. She can tank here and there, she can make the towers feel more stronger, she can buff the towers in that sense I would guess, and heal your barracks here and there. So that's the only best part about her. She is a support hero. She isn't supposed to be strong in terms of damage, but she is a support hero. That's Dierdre for you. Runin Longbeard. Yes, we're including secondary heroes too, and he's pretty alright. I mean, he has only one ability, I would guess. He is like, he can tank very well, he can just tank and deal damage with his ability. There is nothing much special about him. He still outperforms few of the heroes, which is actually the fun part about him, I guess. He can be played on one level only, so I have nothing much more to say. But yeah, he's pretty good. He's like somewhere in a low B tier, I would guess. So yeah, there you go. By the way, he's one of the most forgettable heroes in Kingdom Rush history. My boy Grawl coming up in this list, and he would be above in the list, and I will also explain the reasonings why above Saitam, which will be the next hero. But let's start with Grawl. He's the most consistent tank in the entire game. Not only he tanks everything very well, he can deal damage, like not high amount of damage, but as for a tank, he is doing an amazing job. Let's say second best tank in the game. First one is Alric. Grawl can deal so much more damage with his abilities, and he is so satisfying to use at the same time. I really love using him. So if you prefer tanking over damage and microing ability, you may prefer Grawl over Saitam. But if you prefer microing ability and the damage, I would kind of recommend you to go for Saitam, but depends on the situations. In my personal eyes, I would put Grawl above in the list. That's how things goes on. Well, when it comes to Saitam, I really like this hero because of his only few abilities. He can be microed very well around the map, but where he just deals so much damage with his weapon, and he swings his weapon all around in direction, dealing a little bit AoE too. His ability where he makes all enemies on the entire map being able to be dealt with extra damage, like 65% damage at max level, it's actually really good, not gonna lie, as it can be a game changer in a few situations. Although overall Saitam is a great damage dealer overall, and he can tank pretty much average. He's not the best tank out there in the game, but still he can be microed well, and personally I really enjoy using him this entire game. So just because of that reason, Saitam puts himself in this above tier list. Moreover, in the mid part of this entire tier list, he isn't on the bad side, but he isn't even too good part of this entire game. So yeah, let me know what you think. Saitam or Grawl, who's better? Black Corsair, another secondary hero over here. I find him pretty much alright. He isn't anyone bad. He just is a complete moving artillery in this entire game, I would guess. I really find him enjoyable to use in this specific level. That's the only place we can use him, sadly. But if you want to face him, you can play Kingdom of Vengeance. Why I'm talking about this, I'm not sure. He's pretty great. He can be dealing a great AoE. He has some average slow speed, I would guess, and he can even get landmines down on the map. He isn't that much stronger, and no, I can try him out in other levels, so I have no idea how to rank him based off and all of these things, but he's definitely better than a Longbeard, I would consider, and more iconic character now. So overall he's pretty great, nothing much else to say. Captain Blackthorne being up here in the list, and Captain Blackthorne is a very interesting character. He's a great damage dealer, I would consider. His few abilities is what makes him really strong, and he can also get you free gold, which is actually really nice. He can even have amazing stalling ability. It's really helpful, and not only that, sometimes he will start attacking in range too. So it depends how you use him, but overall when you're using him, you're not gonna face any huge difficulties because he can deal great amount of damage if used well enough. Khaz. Now this is where the true powerful heroes begin, you know. Khaz has such a great amount of abilities. He can boost the tower damage, which serves as a support for the towers too. He can deal damage all around. Their stalling ability is really crazy. Sometimes if you don't use him well enough, things could get worse. Although, as far as it comes to dueling, one character, Khaz just dominates there. If you think about it, he has one Ignis ability over here too, which is actually better than Ignis, I would consider, because he stuns every character he just rushes through. He even has an ability where he can deal quadruple amount of damage with a 10% of the chance, and the abilities makes him really strong. He can tank very well, he can damage very well, he can basically do most of the things. He's a very great hero personally, I would consider. He's not the best, but still you can consider him to be one of the greatest. Now coming up to one of the most underrated dragons in Kingdom Rush history, Ashbite. Now here's the thing, if you can use Ashbite very well, he can be a little bit above in even A tier in many situations, I would consider. But still, when you use him, he isn't the strongest dragon, although in this game at least he can attack to flying enemies. He can even deal great amount of damage with his ability, which lets him deal AoE damage. That is one of my favorite abilities about Ashbite, but that's not it. He also has an insta-kill ability. Now, if used well, you can take out a really powerful enemy with no problem. Ashbite is just gonna whip off its existence like it was nothing. And that's the best thing about Ashbite, that you can even use him as a way to slow down enemies. And the worst part about Ashbite is if you can't micro him well, things can go a lot much more worse. And that's the only reason I have put him here. If you can use him well enough with the micro, he can definitely be up higher in my perspective. Here comes Sha'tra in the entire list. If you want to know more about Sha'tra, I have made a complete lore video about him. Well-known alien character from Marines, I would consider, so he has some of the greatest ability. The ability which lets him just take off few enemies into his ship, which is an insta-kill ability basically, is way much more faster than other insta-kill abilities I would consider. And not only that, he can actually do great damage with his flying disc ability too. The other abilities are pretty alright in my perspective, but still Sha'tra is an average duelist overall. Not the greatest tank at all, but whenever he dies, he explodes himself. He just basically commits Sudoku over here. Here comes Dante, one of my personal favorite heroes from Kingdom Rush Frontiers. When you take a look at Dante, he is like not the greatest when it comes to tanking, but the abilities he has and the cooldown it has are pretty great. Overall, he can deal great damage on ranged, even on melee. He has few abilities which make enemies weaker against a few physical damage or something like that, I would consider, but also has that sniping ability, which is my personal favorite one, which deals an insane amount of damage. And even in one of the hardest levels in the entire game, Dante performs very well, maybe due to his abilities, and he was made for that part especially. He also has the Holy Grenade ability, but not only that, his ability, his aura is what I would like to call it. When he's near barracks, he just boosts the damage of the troops around him, which is actually really good. And not only that time, but even when he's dead, he can actually do that, and he can be moved around, which can get you in pretty good situation in few cases. Say Dante is one of the greatest heroes, and personally my favorite one in Kingdom Rush Frontiers. The top 4 hero, Alric. Now here's the thing, he's a free starter hero, so the first hero you unlock while playing the game is Alric, and he makes it up so much high on the tier list. And it's just not because of he's free. He can deal damage, not only that, he can tank very well. While being in a melee fight, he can even return the damage he's being dealt with. So it's like a Thorns enchantment which is built in Alric. With it, he can even spawn in few Sandmans who will just fight by his side, which can get you a lot of stalling ability too. He can be microed pretty much well enough, and I personally believe he's one of the best free heroes. Not the best in history, but Yes, he's one of the greatest ones out there in Kingdom Rush history, I would consider. Every Kingdom Rush game has one free hero which just dominates all of the tier list, and in this game, Alric's the one. And I would personally believe he has so much more potential if you can use him well enough. He's just the best hero to use around the game. He can even deal a lot of damage. So yeah, that's the thing about Alric. He's great at tanking, he's great at dealing damage, he's great at just stalling enemies. He's a perfect hero for every strategy possible, I would consider. Use him well enough and you're gonna be able to breeze through the game like it was nothing. Now we're getting into the top 3 list, and on number 3 we have Bruxa. And if you have used her, you already may have been aware of how broken she is. Like, the damage she deals is just way too much insane. With this, her aura of slowing down enemies is pretty strong too. Like, she can just slow down enemies just by staring at them. That's pretty great. And not only that, her skull abilities just way too much powerful. So overall, she isn't a tank or anyone you would use to fight in a one-on-one hand battle. She is a mage hero, so use her like so, or else you're gonna of course find her bad. So using her in the right way, I mean in every single hero I have said this basically. The thing about the heroes is every hero has his own playstyle, and if you're not using the hero in the playstyle, you're definitely gonna find the hero weak, and that's the only thing. So I don't want to talk about this too much, but overall Bruxa is really great. Every time she kills an enemy, she gains a skull, which is just, we all know about that ability, and the voodoo ability is pretty great too. Overall, Bruxa is the biggest damage dealer in the entire game, I would consider. So use her right and you're gonna see all of your enemies just getting destroyed out of their existence. And now let's get to the number 2. On number 2 we have Lucrezia, and now let's be honest, she is such a great character. I want Ironhide Game Studios to add her back in Kingdom Rush Alliance or in future if she's alive in the canon lore or whatever. We need her back. She just made her appearance in one game and she just nailed it, to be honest. It was like she was built for this level, but even if you use her anywhere else than this level, she would still perform so much well enough, because one of the most annoying enemies you see in this entire level, she just wipes them out like it was nothing. Very few abilities, but she can be microed very well. She can just perform really good in most of the situations. I wouldn't say much about it because she is just a secondary hero, but let's be honest guys, she is such a great hero overall. Bonehart being on the top of this entire tier list, and we all knew it, to be honest. Let's just be honest over here. And yes, Bonehart is strongest and there is no doubt about it, just because of his abilities are just way too strong. You have him and you have already beaten the game. You just need to keep on microing him wherever you need him, and he's just gonna annihilate the enemies from their existence. Overall, he can even provide you with a little bit stalling ability through his Bone Wolves ability, I guess. He has Spike Rain, he has that infection ability, everything you need for him to be the best hero in the entire game. There shouldn't be much explanation about Bonehart, but yes, if you want to check out the Old Dragons tier list, it's available on my channel. Kingdom Rush 1 tier list is also available on my channel. You can check out, there are a lot of content on my channel, so make sure you do that. And until there, I'll meet you in the next one, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button with notifications on, as it personally helps me out a ton. And I'll meet you in the next one. Let me know what's your tier list in the comment section down below, and until there, keep on rushing.